I'm Colton, 45 male. I'm a logistics manager, or at least I used to be. For the last 3 months, I've been living on my brother's cracked leather couch in Tempe, Arizona. Just a few months ago, I had everything: a 15-year marriage, a beautiful daughter, a high-paying job, and a 4-bedroom house in Scottsdale. Then I lost it all. I was completely broken, a middle-aged cliché with 2 suitcases to my name. But this story isn't just about losing everything. It's about what I found when I had nothing left, all because of a single number on a bank computer screen, a secret my father had been keeping from me since the day I was born 45 years ago. Before this story unfolds, I'd love to connect with you. Please let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. It's amazing to see how far these stories can travel. Until last October, my life was perfect. I was the regional manager for Sunstate Furniture Distribution, pulling in $110,000 a year plus bonuses. I was good at my job. My boss, Harold, used to joke that I could sell sand in the desert. My wife, Bridget, and I had been married for 15 years. We met at a 4th of July barbecue when we were both still ambitious and idealistic. We had the perfect suburban scorecard: a beautiful 4-bedroom house in Scottsdale, a pool with one of those automatic robot cleaners, and 2 matching BMWs in the 3-car garage. But the real center of my universe was our daughter, Tessa. She's 7 years old and has her mother's auburn hair but my sense of humor, or so I like to think. I was the dad who coached her soccer team, the one who taught her to swim in that pool, the one she called Daddy Superman because she thought I could fix anything. For a long time, I thought so too. Life felt stable, predictable, and earned. We had made it. We figured out the formula for happiness, and I never imagined it could all be taken away. The first crack appeared when my company got bought out by a national chain. They called it restructuring, which is just a corporate word for a massacre. 15 of us, mostly senior management, were shown the door. "It's temporary," I assured Bridget that night. "My resume is solid. I'll have something better within a month." But 1 month became 3. The rejections piled up: overqualified, underqualified. We went in a different direction. Bridget's support evaporated with our savings. First, she started leaving job listings on the kitchen counter circled in red. Then she started sleeping in the guest room. The final fight was in the kitchen. She was loading the dishwasher with that aggressive precision that meant she was furious. "My father warned me about marrying someone without ambition," she seethed. "Without ambition," I shot back. "I worked 70-hour weeks for 8 years for this family." "And what do you have to show for it?" She slammed the dishwasher shut. "Nothing. You're 45 years old and starting from scratch. I won't let you drag me and Tessa down with you." The divorce was fast and brutal. Her lawyer painted me as unstable, an unemployed man in free fall. The judge agreed. Bridget got the house, both cars, and the joint savings. The day we signed the final papers, she looked me dead in the eye wearing the pearl earrings I bought her for our 10th anniversary. "You're 45, Colton," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "Starting over with nothing, good luck with that." She was right about the nothing part. The worst moment wasn't signing the papers, it was moving out. I watched my 7-year-old daughter press her face against the living room window, her breath fogging the glass. She was clutching her favorite stuffed butterfly, the one I'd won for her at the state fair. I couldn't hear her through the window, but I could see her mouth forming the words, "Daddy, no." That's how I ended up on my brother Deacon's couch. He's 2 years younger than me, a mechanic who runs a small auto repair shop in Tempe. He's never been married, lives in a simple 2-bedroom house he paid off years ago, and he opened his door without hesitation. "Stay as long as you need," he said, helping me with my 2 suitcases. Family is family. I spent my days sending out resumes that went nowhere and my nights staring at the ceiling, fighting the crushing weight of failure. My mom, Ruth, would call every day from her retirement community in Sedona. She's 71 and living on Social Security and my dad's tiny postal pension. "I can send you some money, honey," she'd offer, her voice thin. "I'm fine, Mom," I'd lie. The worst part was the weekends with Tessa. That first visit, she ran into my arms. "I cleaned my room and did all my homework," she said, looking up at me with those hopeful green eyes. "So now, can you come home?" How do you explain divorce to a 7-year-old? How do you tell her that her daddy Superman is broken? That night, as I tucked her into bed in my old house, he whispered, "Mommy says you chose to leave. But that's not true, right? You didn't want to leave me." I just kissed her forehead and promised her I'd never choose to leave her. Not in a million years. 3 weeks after the divorce, my unemployment benefits ran out. The last check was $247. My credit cards were maxed out from $15,000 in lawyer fees. I was 45 years old and officially penniless. Deacon was buying all the groceries, pretending there were sales. but I knew I was a burden. Then on a Tuesday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from Bridget. It felt like a punch to the gut. Tessa's dance recital is next month. Costume fee is $300. Your half is $150. Don't disappoint her like you disappointed me. My hand was shaking as I opened my banking app. Balance, $73.42. I called her, my voice thick with shame. Bridget, I'm trying. Can we work something out? Maybe I can pay in installments. Her laugh was sharp and cruel. Installments? What are you going to do? Give them $5 a week? You don't have a job. She's been practicing for 3 months, Colton. All the other girls have their costumes. She's going to be the only one without one because her father can't manage $150. She hung up. I just sat there picturing Tessa on stage, all alone in her regular clothes. That night I was holding a work light for Deacon in the garage. He was under the hood of a Tahoe. Remember when Dad opened those savings accounts for us? He asked, his voice muffled. That old Desert Community Bank. I had a vague memory, Dad showing me a passbook when I was 10. Mine had $800 in it when I turned 18, Deacon said. Used it to buy my first tool set. What happened to yours? I had no idea. It was a footnote from a life I'd long since forgotten. It might be worth checking, Deacon said. Even a few $100 would help with Tessa's costume. That night I tore through the 2 boxes I'd stored in his garage. In a shoebox labeled Important Docs, I found it, a faded blue savings passbook. Desert Community Bank, January 1980. My father's careful handwriting showed the opening deposit, $50. The next morning I borrowed Deacon's beat-up Ford F-150. The bank didn't open until 9, but I'd been up since 6, staring at that little blue book. I put on my last clean dress shirt, fed quarters from Deacon's cup holder into the parking meter, and walked into the bank. The small brick building from my childhood was gone, replaced by a modern tower of glass and marble. I got in line, doing the math in my head, $50 in 1980, with compound interest. Maybe it was $200, $250 if I was lucky, enough for the costume. That's all I cared about. The teller's nameplate read Yolanda Ramirez. She was an older woman with a kind smile. I need to close an old savings account, I said, sliding the passbook across the counter. She picked it up gently. Oh my, 1980, this is one of our legacy accounts. She started typing, then she paused. She adjusted her glasses and leaned closer to her monitor. Can I have your identification, Mr. Reeves? I handed her my license. She glanced from the ID to her screen, and her professional smile faded into something else. Confusion, maybe even shock. Mr. Reeves, she said slowly, when was the last time you checked this account? Never, I said. Not since I was a kid. I just need the funds for my daughter. Is there a problem? No, she said, but I need to speak with my manager. This will just take a moment. My stomach dropped. It was closed. The fees had eaten it. It was all for nothing. She returned with a man in a suit. Mr. Reeves, I'm Robert Chen, the branch manager. We just need to verify some details. He looked at Yolanda. Show Mr. Reeves the current balance. Yolanda turned her monitor toward me. I didn't understand the number. It had too many commas. I had to grip the marble counter to keep my knees from buckling. $487,067.42. That can't be right, I whispered. My dad put in $50. Sir, are you all right? Yolanda asked, rushing around the counter with a chair. As I sat down, Robert Chen explained. Mr. Reeves, your father didn't just deposit $50. He set up an automatic monthly deposit of $25, every single month from January 1980 until his death in October 2006. I did the math. That was $8,025 in deposits. But here's the magic, Yolanda said, pulling up another screen. He locked in one of our highest yield rates from 1980. Even after he passed and the deposit stopped, this account has been compounding at a guaranteed minimum of 7% for 45 years. Your father, Dennis, he understood time. My father, the mailman, the man who wore his shoes until they had holes, who skipped lunches to save a few bucks. He'd been planning for this. I sat in the manager's office, my hands shaking. I set up a $200,000 trust fund for Tessa's education, inaccessible until she's 25. I transferred $200,000 to a new checking account and left the rest right where it was to key. P. Growings. I walked out of that bank a different man. I made 3 calls from Deacon's truck. The first was to my lawyer. I need to file for custody modification, equal custody. I can provide stable housing and financial security. Now. The second was to a realtor. I need a 3-bedroom house near Scottsdale. I can put down cash. The third was a text to Bridget. Tessa's costume fee is handled. Also, I'll be buying a house near her school. My lawyer will be sending paperwork requesting equal custody reconsideration. My phone rang instantly. What kind of game are you playing, Colton? She snapped. You don't have money for a house. Actually, I said, my voice steady for the first time in months, I do. My father left me something. Tessa won't struggle, Bridget, not for dance costumes, not for college, not for anything. How much are we talking about? Enough, I said and hung up. 3 months later, I was standing in the backyard of my new 3-bedroom house in Ahwatukee, watching Tessa chase butterflies. It was 10 minutes from her school. We had painted her new room purple together, laughing as we got more paint on ourselves than the walls. Deacon was at the grill flipping burgers. My mom, Ruth, sat under the patio umbrella, tears streaming down her face. Your father always said that account would matter someday, she said softly. Even when things were tight, he'd find that $25. He'd say, Ruth, this isn't for us. It's for when Colton really needs it. The custody modification went through. The judge, seeing my new home, the trust fund, and my new job, a logistics manager at a local medical supply company, didn't hesitate. 50-50 custody, equal time, equal responsibility. Bridget sat in the courtroom, stunned into silence. The power dynamic had shifted forever. That night, I was tucking Tessa into her new purple bed. Daddy, she asked, are you happy now? I looked at this little person who was my reason for everything. Yeah, baby girl, I said, my voice thick. I'm really happy. The grandpa I never met, she said. Mommy says he was just a mailman. I smiled and handed her the stuffed butterfly from the box I'd kept. He was a mailman who understood something important. You know how you practice ballet every day? Well, Grandpa Dennis practiced saving. Every month he put away $25. It doesn't sound like much, but he did it for 26 years. Small, steady actions become big things over time. As she drifted off to sleep, I walked to my home office. On the wall, I'd framed the original $50 deposit slip. The next morning, I drove back to Desert Community Bank. Yolanda smiled when she saw me. I need to open a new savings account, I said, filling out a deposit slip. For my daughter, opening deposit $50, monthly automatic deposit $25. She smiled, understanding completely, just like your father. Exactly like my father, I said. My dad, with his mailman's salary, had turned patience into a miracle. He'd given me a second chance at life, and I was going to make sure I passed that gift on.